And there we go. Hey, welcome back to Overland Q&A. We're in my new office, a new little editing studio. We're busy setting up over here, and we're obviously not at SpeedX. It's Eid vacation right now. Everybody's out and about exploring. I've received a couple of awesome photos, guys. I hope you're enjoying it out there. Salala is looking absolutely great. But yeah, we're here. I'm busy editing something really cool right now. So it's a lot of footage that hasn't hit the shows. It's going to go out especially for our Patreon guys as a thank you. Thank you for supporting us, guys. Every $1 goes a long way to creating these shows, showing you reviews, getting products, all of that. So once again, I can't thank you enough. So watch out for that. One of these shows will be hitting Patreon pretty soon. I hope the audio in here is pretty cool. I haven't recorded in this office yet, so hope there's not too much of an echo. We'll have to maybe sort that out a bit later. And there's a cock crowing in the background. Just to make things... Oh, that's not a sound effect. It's actual cocks crowing in the back. Anyway, let's get into the questions. Right, so I've received a couple of questions, one from Joseph and one from Rob Mack regarding the Tough Dog suspension film that we put together. Now, that was a first impression film. We've only been using it for a couple of thousand kilometers. We haven't really spent that much time for me to give you an honest review of the suspension. Obviously, first impressions, I'm really enjoying it so far. We'll give you another review 6 months in, maybe a little bit longer than that, and see if my first impressions are different to the long-term review. But let's get into the questions. Right, so the two questions are pretty similar. Joseph Alexander asks, what are the best settings for mild off-road conditions, both front and rear? And Rob Mack asks, could you give us the settings that you are using for general use? And what are the settings that you change for various track conditions? Right. Okay, so let me start this off. First of all, now, I will give you the settings that I put on my truck, but you've got to bear in mind that my truck is pretty heavy when it's fully loaded or when I'm pulling a trailer. So it varies up to 3.5 tons. The settings on the suspension will be different for your vehicle depending on the weight, the model, etc., etc., etc. I think I've explained this enough in the previous videos that I've done about this. So let's start off. General conditions, tarmac, blacktop. I run the rear shock absorbers at setting 7 out of 9, and I run the front at 4 or 5, depending on the load, out of the 9 settings on setting 4 or 5, to give me that stability, especially going around corners, roundabouts, things like that. I like my car to be pretty stiff, give me that racing car feel because it's top heavy and she's a bit of a beast, right? So those are the settings that I would run on road. Now, let's go to mild off-road. Let's go into, right, let's take a gravel track, well-graded gravel track, not much corrugation, a kind of track that you would be comfortable doing 70, 80 kilometers per hour on at long distances. So a couple of corners. Again, I want the stability of the shock absorbers to be there. If something happens, I need to maneuver. Because I'm doing high speeds, 80 kilometers per hour, I want them to be able to react, and I don't want the body roll in the vehicle. So generally what I would do is I'd probably leave the suspension setting at the same settings as the tarmac setting, but I would deflate the tires. So I'd deflate the tires, bring them down 10 psi from whatever setting they're at, just to soften the suspension. Now, the guys at Tough Dog do mention the harder you run the shock absorber setting, the quicker the bushes will fade. Now, that obviously makes total sense to me. The harder the shock is working, the little bush that's holding it together, that impact is going to be a lot more than running it soft. So I believe, we'll see how it goes, but by deflating my tires by that 10 psi to soften the ride, that gives me that stability from the shock, but yet gives me that comfortable ride. Now, let's up it an ante. Let's go to corrugation. Now the corrugation is really getting bad. It's shaking up the vehicle. All the nuts and bolts are going to come loose. I would then generally drop the back to setting number 5, and I would drop the front to probably setting number 3 or setting number 2. Obviously, I would deflate the tires some more as well, and that would give me that comfortable ride depending on the corrugation, you're probably hitting at 30 kilometers or 40 kilometers or sometimes 50 kilometers per hour to get that corrugation, a nice smooth ride. But the shocks now are taking the brunt of it, and the deflation of the tire takes the brunt of that, giving you that smooth ride. Right, take it up again. Now I'm getting into rock crawling environment and I need the full flex of the vehicle. I'm probably going to drop the front all the way down to setting number 1, and the rear, I'd probably drop it to setting number 3. Now, always keep the rear higher than the front because it's got a lot more load. I need the shock absorbers to assist me. Now, that flexibility will now improve my off-road ability, right? Going into sand, I generally run the same setting as I would do when I am rock crawling or in a very bouldery environment. I need as much traction, I need the flexibility to be there. If I'm in an environment where it's high speed desert running, now when you're getting over the dunes and you've got to bolt through the bowl and you've got a 50 to 100 meter climb on the other side, I need that to stiffen up the suspension somewhat because I'm going to be going through bounces to get up the dune, depending on where you are. I would then stiffen it up slightly. I would never go to setting 7. I'll probably bring it to setting 5 on the rear and then up the ante in the front, just to make sure when you're going over those moguls in the desert that it's not bouncing the front too much. I've got permanent grip. The wheels are in touch with the sand at any given time, so I've got maximum traction. Right, guys, I hope I helped you out with those questions over there. Awesome questions, by the way. Yes. Yeah. And again, it's different to every single vehicle. I think the point of any adjustable shock absorber out there, there are a bunch of them on the market, is finding, number 1, a fitment center that knows what they're talking about, a fitment center that is out there on weekends. There's a company called Highly Articulated coming to the market pretty soon here in the Middle East, where they are going to be supplying equipment through to the actual fitment centers where they can measure the articulation and set up your preferred suspension to your preferred vehicle. And that's going to make a big difference. It took me some time to gauge where I want these settings. And with the help from the guys at Tough Dog, a couple of phone calls, understanding generally what they're doing, I've ended up in a very, very happy space. So, hey guys, it's a little bit of trial and error depending on the size of your tires, depending if you're running airbags, but having that fully adjustable shock absorber makes the world of difference when you're off-roading or touring. So, hey guys, once again, thanks for the great question. Let's rock the tip of the week, and I will see you guys in the next episode. This week's tip are for those of you that own a trailer or have any kind of attachment to the back of the vehicle. Some people have those carrier bags that they stick into their into the tow hitch cover, bicycles, you name it, right? When you're doing that, you're really covering up the back of your vehicle, and visibility when making a U-turn or visibility with the small lights on the trailer, really bad. Something like 15 dirhams, man. That's what, $4, $3. This reflective tape is an absolute must. Stick it along the side of your trailer, stick it at the back of the trailer, the nose of the trailer. You can stick it all over the place on the chassis rails, and you'll have perfect visibility, or everybody else will have perfect visibility of your trailer, or a strip behind where the bicycle rack is, so no one goes and rear ends your expensive bicycles, or trailer for that matter. Hey guys, once again, thanks for the support. Patreon guys, look out for that new video. Busy editing it at the moment. There it is. So hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll catch you next week. Remember, if it's dusty, drive it.